Welcome to this English learning video with Jessica. In this lesson, the main focus is on improving your listening and speaking skills while practicing a very simple but useful topic, colors and personal preferences. The video begins with a warm and friendly welcome from Jessica, who immediately sets a positive and encouraging tone for learners. She explains that the lesson is designed for beginners or anyone who wants to strengthen their English speaking and listening abilities in a fun and interactive way. Jessica introduces the first key question of the lesson: what is your favorite color? She emphasizes that this question is commonly used in daily conversations and is a great starting point for learners to talk about themselves and interact with others. By learning how to ask and answer this simple question, students can practice forming sentences, using proper grammar, and expanding their vocabulary. The introduction also explains how the lesson will be structured. Jessica encourages viewers to listen carefully to each sentence, repeat after her, and try to imitate the pronunciation and intonation. This approach is designed to help learners develop accurate pronunciation, improve listening comprehension, and build confidence in speaking English aloud. Additionally, Jessica briefly mentions that the video will introduce 3 characters with different favorite colors. This part prepares the learners to connect colors with objects, actions, and personal habits, making the vocabulary easier to remember. By using relatable examples and real-life contexts, learners can visualize the words and sentences, which helps strengthen memory and understanding. Overall, this short introduction sets the stage for the entire lesson. It clearly states the learning objectives, explains the interactive method, and motivates learners to actively participate by repeating sentences and paying close attention. It's a friendly, structured, and effective start to a lesson focused on listening and speaking practice in English. In this section of the video, the lesson moves into the first interactive activity, where learners are introduced to several characters and their favorite colors. This activity is designed not only to teach basic vocabulary about colors but also to show learners how to use English to talk about personal preferences, habits, and everyday objects. By connecting colors to real-life examples, learners are able to understand and remember words more effectively, which is particularly helpful for beginners. The activity begins by focusing on Jack, a young boy whose favorite color is red. Jessica explains that Jack likes red for several reasons. First, he enjoys watching red fire trucks drive by his home. This sentence introduces learners to the idea that colors can be associated with objects in the environment, which helps make vocabulary more memorable. For example, learners can imagine a bright red fire truck passing down the street. Jessica carefully pronounces the sentence slowly, emphasizing the word red and the phrase fire trucks, so viewers can hear the correct pronunciation. She encourages learners to repeat the sentence after her, helping them practice both listening and speaking at the same time. Next, the video expands on Jack's preferences by linking his favorite color to fruits. Jessica says that Jack's favorite fruit is an apple, which is red. This is a very simple yet effective way to connect vocabulary words. Learners are able to see a pattern: red is the color of Jack's favorite things. By associating colors with common objects, such as fruits, learners can retain the word more easily. Jessica highlights the word apple, pointing out the pronunciation and making it clear that the color red applies not only to fire trucks but also to the apple. This helps learners understand how to use adjectives like colors to describe nouns, a fundamental skill in English grammar. The lesson continues by describing Jack's hobby of coloring. Jessica mentions that when Jack colors, he uses the color red the most. This example demonstrates how colors can be tied to personal habits and activities, which makes the sentences more meaningful and memorable. Jessica repeats the sentence slowly and clearly. When Jack colors, he uses the color red the most. She pauses after each part so learners can repeat the sentence in chunks, making it easier to learn longer sentences and maintain proper intonation. After Jack, the video introduces the second character, Nick, whose favorite color is blue. Jessica explains that Nick enjoys looking at the blue sky. This simple example shows learners how colors can describe natural elements. She points out that blue is not only the color of objects like shirts or apples but also a color found in nature. This provides learners with a wider context for using color words. Jessica encourages repetition again, asking viewers to say, "Nick's favorite color is blue," and "he loves looking at the sky because it is blue." This repetition helps learners practice full sentences and reinforces both vocabulary and sentence structure. Next, Jessica connects Nick's favorite color to fruit and animals. She says that Nick enjoys picking blueberries because they are blue. This shows learners that colors can describe multiple types of nouns, whether it is a fruit, an animal, or an object. By using real-life examples like blueberries, Jessica helps learners visualize the color in a familiar context, making it easier to remember. Furthermore, she mentions that Nick sometimes likes to look out of his window to see if there are any blue birds. This sentence introduces a slightly more complex structure, showing learners how to describe actions in relation to colors. The sentence is repeated slowly so learners can hear the rhythm of English and practice speaking fluently. The third character introduced is Zach, whose favorite color is green. Jessica explains that Zach likes mowing his yard because the grass is green. This is another example of linking colors to everyday activities and the environment. By using a familiar action like mowing the lawn, learners can connect vocabulary to real-life experiences, which increases retention. Jessica carefully pronounces the words mowing and grass while emphasizing green, helping learners associate the color with the object clearly. Zach's love for green extends to his clothing. Jessica mentions that Zach wears a green shirt because he really likes the color green, and he also has a green hat that he likes to wear. This reinforces the idea that colors are not only for describing objects in the environment but also for describing personal belongings and style. Jessica encourages learners to repeat each sentence, helping them practice using adjectives before nouns, such as green shirt and green hat. She also uses repetition to strengthen pronunciation and fluency. Throughout this activity, Jessica uses a step-by-step approach, introducing one character at a time, describing their favorite color, objects, and activities, and then asking learners to repeat each sentence aloud. This method ensures that learners are not overwhelmed with too much information at once. It also allows learners to absorb vocabulary in a meaningful context, practice sentence patterns, and develop listening comprehension. In addition, the video subtly teaches learners grammar patterns related to colors. For example, learners see repeated use of the structure. _______S favorite color is _______ dot. She likes ______ because _______ dot. When she uses ______ dot. Sometimes she likes to ______ dot. By hearing and repeating these structures multiple times, learners begin to internalize the grammar naturally. Jessica also emphasizes intonation, pauses, and stress on key words, which is crucial for developing natural-sounding speech in English. Another key aspect of this activity is the visual connection. Although the transcript does not show visuals, the video likely uses images of objects, colors, and characters to reinforce learning. Visual cues combined with repetition help learners remember vocabulary faster and associate colors with actions and objects, making the lesson more engaging. Finally, Jessica encourages learners to actively participate, reminding them that repeating sentences aloud is essential. This interactive approach is effective for strengthening memory, improving pronunciation, and gaining confidence in speaking English. By the end of this first activity, learners are familiar with 3 characters, 3 favorite colors, and various objects and actions associated with those colors. They have practiced repeating sentences, understood basic grammar patterns, and started developing the ability to describe preferences and objects in English, setting a strong foundation for the rest of the lesson. In summary, this first activity is carefully designed to introduce basic vocabulary about colors, link colors to objects, actions, and personal habits, provide clear and repeated examples for learners to imitate, teach sentence structures and grammar patterns naturally, encourage active participation and speaking practice, build a foundation for listening comprehension and fluency. By connecting colors to everyday life and repeating sentences in a structured way, learners are able to absorb English naturally, improve their pronunciation, and begin to feel confident using English to talk about their own favorite colors and habits. After the introduction of the characters and their favorite colors, the video moves into the core learning segment, listening and repeat practice. This section is the heart of the lesson because it allows learners to actively engage with the language by listening carefully and repeating sentences aloud. The purpose of this activity is to develop both listening comprehension and speaking fluency simultaneously, while reinforcing vocabulary and sentence structures introduced in the first activity. The segment begins with a clear instruction from Jessica. Learners should listen carefully to each sentence and repeat it exactly as they hear it. This method is commonly used in English learning for beginners because it builds strong pronunciation habits and helps learners internalize sentence structures. Repetition also allows the brain to recognize common word patterns, making it easier to recall words and phrases later in conversation. The first sentence focuses on the core question of the lesson: what is your favorite color? Jessica repeats the question slowly, emphasizing each word. Learners are encouraged to pause after each part and repeat, "What is your favorite color?" By breaking down the sentence into smaller chunks, learners can focus on pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm, which are key for natural English speech. This is especially helpful for beginners who might struggle with fluent word linking and stress patterns. Next, the video practices responses related to Jack, whose favorite color is red. Jessica says, "Jack's favorite color is red." She emphasizes the name, Jack, and the color red to help learners remember these important vocabulary words. The sentence is repeated multiple times so learners can hear it clearly and practice saying it aloud several times. Repetition at this stage serves 2 purposes. It strengthens memory of vocabulary and trains the learner's mouth muscles for accurate pronunciation. Jessica then moves to a more descriptive sentence about Jack. "He likes when red fire trucks drive by his home." This sentence introduces a reason or explanation, showing learners how to extend simple sentences. Jessica pronounces slowly, pausing at key phrases. He likes, when red fire trucks drive by his home. Learners are encouraged to repeat the sentence in segments, focusing first on he likes, when red fire trucks, and then drive by his home. Segmenting sentences in this way helps learners avoid getting overwhelmed by longer sentences and makes the practice more manageable. Following that, Jessica introduces Jack's favorite fruit, which also reinforces the color red. His favorite fruit is an apple because it is red. She clearly enunciates apple and red, ensuring learners hear the difference between similar vowel sounds in English. By connecting colors to objects, learners can visualize the word, which significantly improves retention. Jessica encourages learners to repeat the sentence slowly, then at normal speed, helping them transition from careful pronunciation to more natural, fluent speech. The lesson continues by describing Jack's coloring habit. When Jack colors, he uses the color red the most. This sentence introduces a habit or activity using the present simple tense. Jessica highlights the words colors and red the most, emphasizing the important vocabulary. Learners repeat the sentence several times, first in small chunks, then as a full sentence, which allows them to practice grammar, word order, and pronunciation simultaneously. After Jack, the video moves on to Nick, whose favorite color is blue. Jessica starts with the sentence, Nick's favorite color is blue. She repeats the sentence slowly, emphasizing Nick and blue, then encourages learners to say it aloud multiple times. This repetition ensures that learners remember the names of characters and their associated colors, which is essential for understanding context in subsequent sentences. Jessica then describes why Nick likes blue. He loves looking at the sky because it is blue. This sentence introduces a cause-and-effect structure, which is slightly more advanced but still manageable for beginners. Jessica breaks the sentence into smaller phrases. He loves looking at the sky because it is blue, and asks learners to repeat each phrase separately before combining them. This technique strengthens both listening comprehension and sentence-building skills. Next, Jessica links blue to real objects in Nick's life. Nick enjoys picking blueberries because they are blue. Here, learners see how colors describe multiple nouns, such as fruit and birds. Jessica emphasizes blueberries and blue, making sure learners hear the correct pronunciation and the difference between singular and plural forms. Learners repeat the sentence several times, practicing both vocabulary and rhythm. The video continues with another real-life example. Sometimes Nick likes to look out of his window to see if there are any blue birds outside. This sentence is longer and introduces adverbs of frequency, sometimes, and more complex structures, to see if there are any. Jessica encourages learners to break the sentence into smaller sections. Sometimes Nick likes to look out of his window to see if there are any blue birds outside. By repeating each section, learners can build confidence with longer sentences, which improves fluency and comprehension. Following Nick, the video introduces Zach, whose favorite color is green. The first sentence about Zach is, Zach likes mowing his yard because his grass is green. Jessica pronounces mowing, yard, and green slowly and clearly. Learners repeat the sentence, practicing the present simple tense and descriptive language. By connecting colors with actions and objects in the environment, learners are better able to visualize the context and retain vocabulary. Jessica then focuses on clothing. Zach wears his green shirt because he really likes the color green. Learners are asked to repeat the sentence multiple times. This sentence demonstrates how to use colors to describe clothing, a practical skill in everyday conversations. Jessica emphasizes green shirt and color green, helping learners recognize adjective plus noun patterns, which are fundamental in English grammar. Finally, Jessica completes the section with, "He also has a green hat that he likes to wear." This sentence reinforces vocabulary from earlier sentences and introduces the conjunction also, which is useful for connecting ideas. Learners repeat the sentence aloud, first slowly, then at natural speed, allowing them to practice intonation, stress, and rhythm. Throughout this listening and repeat practice section, Jessica uses several effective teaching techniques. Repetition: each sentence is repeated multiple times to strengthen memory and pronunciation. Chunking: longer sentences are broken into smaller phrases for easier repetition. Emphasis on vocabulary: keywords, especially colors and nouns, are clearly highlighted. Connection to real life: colors are linked to objects, activities, and habits. Interactive engagement: learners are constantly encouraged to repeat sentences aloud. Gradual progression: sentences move from simple to slightly complex, gradually building skills. By the end of this activity, learners have practiced asking and answering, "What is your favorite color?" Learn to describe preferences, actions, and objects using colors. Repeated full sentences aloud multiple times, building fluency and confidence. Practiced proper pronunciation, intonation, and sentence rhythm. Understood basic grammar structures such as present simple, cause and effect sentences, adverbs of frequency, and adjective-noun combinations. This section is highly effective because it combines listening, speaking, vocabulary, and grammar practice in one continuous activity. It ensures that learners are actively participating rather than passively watching, which is key for language acquisition. By the end of this listening and repeat practice, learners are not only familiar with 3 characters and their favorite colors, but they are also able to construct similar sentences about themselves, enhancing their ability to use English in real-life contexts. In summary, the listening and repeat practice section is carefully structured to strengthen listening comprehension by focusing on clear pronunciation and sentence structure. Reinforce vocabulary about colors and everyday objects through repetition and visualization. Build speaking fluency by encouraging active repetition of sentences and phrases. Teach grammar patterns naturally, including present simple tense, adjective plus noun phrases, cause and effect sentences, and adverbs of frequency. Prepare learners to use English to talk about personal preferences, habits, and objects in real-life situations. By combining these elements, this section of the video provides a comprehensive learning experience, making it both practical and engaging for English learners at a beginner or early intermediate level. It creates a strong foundation for the subsequent parts of the lesson, which may include further dialogue practice, comprehension exercises, or speaking activities. At the conclusion of the first part of the lesson, Jessica provides a brief but effective wrap-up to help learners consolidate what they have just practiced. She emphasizes that the key goal of this section was to improve listening comprehension and speaking skills while learning to talk about favorite colors and related objects. By summarizing the lesson, Jessica helps learners review important vocabulary, sentence structures, and pronunciation patterns, which strengthens retention. Jessica revisits the core question, "What is your favorite color?" and reminds learners how to answer it using the simple sentence structure, "My favorite color is underscore 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 dot." She also encourages learners to include additional details, such as objects, fruits, or activities associated with their favorite color, similar to how the characters Jack, Nick, and Zach were described. For example, learners might say, "My favorite color is blue because I like the sky and blueberries." By providing these concrete examples, Jessica demonstrates how learners can expand basic sentences naturally, making their responses more interesting and complete. Additionally, Jessica briefly reviews the three characters and their favorite colors, highlighting the key vocabulary words, red, blue, and green, as well as the objects and actions connected to each color. She reinforces that learners should practice repeating these sentences aloud, as repetition helps improve both pronunciation and fluency. Jessica reminds viewers that listening carefully and mimicking her intonation, stress, and rhythm are essential for sounding more natural in English. Finally, Jessica encourages learners to actively use the sentences they have learned in their daily life. She suggests looking around at objects, clothing, or nature and describing their colors in English. This practical advice helps learners connect the lesson to real-world experiences, ensuring that the vocabulary and sentence structures become part of their active language skills. By summarizing, reviewing, and encouraging practical application, this wrap-up effectively reinforces the content of the first part, giving learners a strong foundation for the next stages of the lesson. It combines review, repetition, and practical tips, which together enhance comprehension, speaking confidence, and long-term retention.